Marcus Thompson wiped the grease from his hands and stepped back to look at his latest creation. The small fusion engine hummed quietly on his workbench, its blue glow lighting up the dark corners of his workshop. 3 years of exile had turned him into something he never thought he would become. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a survivor. The workshop sat inside the broken hull of an old transport ship that had crashed on this barren moon decades ago. Marcus had found it during his first week here and spent months making it livable. The ship's cargo bay became his main work area. The crew quarters became his home. The bridge became his communications center where he talked to the outside galaxy. Kepler 442c was not a place anyone would choose to live. The moon orbited a dead planet that had lost its atmosphere millions of years ago. No trees grew here. No animals lived here. No cities existed here. Just rocks and dust and the endless black sky above. The gravity was weak enough that Marcus could jump 3 times higher than on Earth. The air was so thin he needed to wear breathing gear whenever he went outside. But this terrible place had one thing going for it. Nobody else wanted to be here. No trade ships stopped here. No colonies were built here. No military patrols came here. For a man with a price on his head, it was perfect. Marcus remembered the day everything changed. He had been chief engineer on the UES Prometheus, humanity's most advanced exploration ship. They had discovered an alien device that could translate any language in the galaxy. It was a miracle of science that could help humans talk to every species they met. But the military wanted to turn it into a weapon. They wanted to use it to confuse enemy communications and spread false messages. Marcus had refused. He told them the device was meant for peace, not war. He said humans should use it to make friends, not enemies. The court-martial that followed was quick and brutal. They stripped him of his rank, took away his citizenship, and sent him into exile. The message was clear to everyone in the Earth fleet. Question orders and lose everything. Now Marcus worked alone in his makeshift workshop, building things that no military committee would ever approve. His tools were old and broken, fixed with spare parts and held together with hope. His materials came from the crashed ships and abandoned mining equipment scattered across the moon's surface. Every bolt, every wire, every piece of metal had to be found, cleaned, and made useful again. The crashed transport ship had given him the basic structure, but Marcus had improved it far beyond its original design. He had sealed the hull breaches with plates from other wrecks. He had built a power system using 3 different types of generators. He had created an air recycling system that could keep him alive for months without outside help. The whole workshop was a monument to human stubbornness and creativity. His current project was the fusion engine on his workbench. It was smaller than anything the Earth military used, but it produced twice as much power. Marcus had discovered that by changing the magnetic field patterns, he could make the fusion reaction much more efficient. The engine was proof that sometimes one person working alone could achieve more than 1,000 people working for a committee. The communications system beeped softly, telling him that a message had arrived. Marcus walked to the old captain's chair where he had installed his quantum transmitter. The message was from his sister Rebecca, back on Earth. She was the only person who still talked to him, using encrypted channels that hopefully kept both of them safe. "Marcus, I hope you are staying healthy out there," her recorded voice said. "Things here are getting worse. The military is building more weapons and starting fights with alien species we should be trying to understand. Sometimes I think you were right to question them, even if it cost you everything." Rebecca worked as a teacher in New Angeles, far from the military bases and government buildings. She was careful never to say anything that might get her in trouble, but Marcus could hear the worry in her voice. The Earth government was becoming more aggressive every year. They saw every alien species as a potential threat instead of a potential friend. Marcus composed his response carefully. He could not tell her about his latest discoveries or the theories he was working on. Any message might be intercepted, and he could not risk giving the military ideas they would only turn into weapons. Instead, he talked about the weather on, the moon, and the small repairs he was making to his workshop. After sending the message, Marcus returned to his workbench. The fusion engine was just the beginning of something much larger. He had been working on theoretical designs for a new type of space drive, something that could move ships faster than anything humans had ever built. The math was incredibly complex, and he was missing key pieces of information, but every day brought him closer to a breakthrough. The workshop's early warning system chimed quietly. Marcus had built the sensor network himself, using salvaged equipment to watch for approaching ships. Most of the time, it detected nothing but space debris and cosmic radiation. But tonight was different. The sensors showed a large object moving through the outer edge of the star system, too far away to identify, but close enough to worry about. Marcus watched the display for several minutes, hoping the object would change course and move away. It did not. Instead, it seemed to be heading toward the inner planets where his moon was located. The object was too big to be a trader and moving too fast to be a colonist ship. That left only two possibilities, and Marcus did not like either one. It could be a military patrol ship looking for pirates or smugglers, or it could be bounty hunters looking for him. After 3 years of peace, someone might have finally traced his location. The 50,000 credit reward for his capture would be enough to interest the kind of people who made their living hunting fugitives across the galaxy. Marcus turned off the fusion engine and began securing his workshop. If visitors were coming, he needed to be ready for anything. He checked his emergency supplies and made sure his escape route was clear. The transport ship's engines were still functional, barely, and could get him off the moon if necessary. But as he prepared for the worst, Marcus looked around his workshop one more time. This place had become his home, his laboratory, and his refuge. Here, among the broken machines and salvaged dreams, he had found a purpose that no court-martial could take away. Whatever was coming, he would face it as an engineer, a human, and a man who refused to give up hope for a better future. The unknown object had disappeared from Marcus's sensors 3 days ago, but he could not shake the feeling that danger was still coming. He decided to explore deeper into the moon's cave systems, looking for rare metals that might help him build better detection equipment. What he found instead changed everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. The cave entrance was hidden behind a ridge of crystalline rock that sparkled with strange colors when his flashlight hit it. Marcus had walked past this spot dozens of times before, but today something looked different. The crystals seemed to pulse with a faint inner light, as if they were alive. Marcus squeezed through the narrow opening and found himself in a vast underground chamber. His flashlight beam disappeared into the darkness above, unable to reach the ceiling. The walls were covered with the same strange crystals, creating patterns that seemed almost too perfect to be natural. As he walked deeper into the chamber, Marcus noticed that the temperature was rising. The air became thick and humid, completely different from the thin atmosphere outside. His breathing gear registered atmospheric pressure that should not exist this deep underground. Something was maintaining an environment down here. The source of the mystery became clear when Marcus reached the center of the chamber. Embedded in the rock wall was the hull of a spacecraft unlike anything humans had ever built. The metal was black as space itself, but it reflected his flashlight beam in rainbow patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ship was enormous, easily the size of an Earth military cruiser, but its design was completely alien. Marcus ran his hands along the hull, feeling metal that was smoother than glass, but stronger than steel. There were no visible seams or joints anywhere on the surface. The entire ship seemed to have been grown rather than built, like a living thing that had turned to metal. Strange symbols covered parts of the hull, glowing faintly with the same light as the crystals around them. Finding an entrance took Marcus 2 hours of careful searching. When he finally located what might be a doorway, there was no handle or control panel. Instead, the metal simply dissolved away when he touched it, creating an opening just large enough for him to enter. The ship was inviting him inside. The interior was even more amazing than the outside. Corridors curved in impossible directions, leading to rooms that seemed larger inside than they could possibly be. The walls gave off enough light to see by, responding to Marcus's presence like they knew he was there. Everything was covered in the same flowing symbols he had seen outside. Marcus found what looked like the ship's bridge near the center of the vessel. Crystalline structures grew from the floor like trees, each one pulsing with different colored lights. When he approached the largest crystal, images suddenly filled his mind. Not words or sounds, but pure information flowing directly into his thoughts. The ship belonged to a species that called themselves the Builders. They had traveled the galaxy millions of years ago, not as conquerors, but as gardeners. They planted the seeds of life on dead worlds and helped young civilizations learn to reach for the stars. Their technology was based on harmony rather than force, cooperation rather than conflict. Marcus learned that the Builders had vanished from the galaxy long before humans learned to make fire. They had not died in a war or plague. Instead, they had simply moved on to something greater, leaving behind their ships and stations for younger species to find when they were ready. The crystal showed Marcus images of the galaxy as it used to be. Peaceful trade routes connected, thousands of worlds. Different species worked together on projects that took centuries to complete. Art and science flowed freely between civilizations that saw diversity as strength rather than threat. But the images also showed what came after. War and conquest replaced cooperation. Species that had once been friends became enemies. The Builder stations fell silent one by one as violence spread across the galaxy. The dream of unity died, replaced by the nightmare of endless conflict. Marcus felt tears on his cheeks as the crystal shared the Builders' final message. They had not given up on the galaxy. They believed that someday a species would arise that could restore the old ways, a species that valued exploration over conquest, understanding over fear. The Builders had left their technology behind as a test and a gift. The most incredible discovery was in the ship's engine room. The Builders' propulsion system was beyond anything Marcus could have imagined. Instead of pushing against space, it moved space itself. The ship did not travel from one place to another. It brought the destination to itself. Marcus spent hours studying the engine, using the crystal's knowledge to understand principles that human science had never dreamed of. The Builders called it quantum displacement, the art of convincing reality. That distance was just an opinion, but the technology came with a warning built into its very structure. The quantum displacement drive could only be used by minds focused on peaceful purposes. Any attempt to weaponize the technology would cause it to shut down permanently. The Builders had designed their greatest achievement to be useless to conquerors and tyrants. Marcus realized what he had to do. The knowledge in his head was too important to keep to himself, but too dangerous to share carelessly. He began copying the crystal's information into his portable data storage, working carefully to preserve every detail. The process took most of the night. When Marcus finally emerged from the ship, the crystalline chamber looked different. The walls were darker now, as if the ship had transferred some of its energy to him. The ancient vessel was going dormant again, waiting for the next worthy person to discover its secrets. Marcus climbed back to the surface as the moon's distant sun painted the sky with pale colors. His mind was full of impossible equations and revolutionary theories. He now possessed the knowledge to build technology that would make humanity the most advanced species in the galaxy. But more importantly, he understood the responsibility that came with such power. The Builders had trusted their legacy to whoever found it, believing that the right person would use it wisely. Marcus could not let them down. Back in his workshop, Marcus began the long process of turning alien theory into human reality. He had work to do, and somewhere in the darkness of space, unknown visitors were still coming his way. Marcus stared at the builder equations floating in his mind and felt completely overwhelmed. The alien mathematics were like nothing humans had ever discovered. Where human science used numbers and formulas, the builders used harmony and resonance. Their technology worked by convincing the universe to change its mind about how things should behave. The first challenge was materials. The quantum displacement drive required components that did not exist in human technology. The builders had used crystalline matrices that grew like living things, shaping themselves according to thought and intention. Marcus had salvaged metal and broken electronics. Making the two work together seemed impossible. Marcus spent his first week just trying to understand the basic principles. He filled notebook after notebook with sketches and calculations, trying to translate builder concepts into human engineering. The aliens thought about space and time as things that could be folded and stretched. Humans thought about them as fixed barriers that had to be overcome with brute force. The breakthrough came when Marcus realized that human fusion reactors could generate the energy patterns the builder technology needed. By modifying the magnetic containment fields, he could create resonance frequencies that matched what the alien crystals had produced. It would not be as elegant as the original builder system, but it might work. Marcus began tearing apart every piece of equipment in his workshop. The fusion engine from his first experiment became the power source. Computer processors from crashed ships became control systems. Even his cooking unit contributed circuits that could handle the precise timing required for quantum field generation. Building the first prototype took 3 weeks of non-stop work. Marcus barely slept, surviving on energy bars and recycled water, while he shaped metal with his bare hands. Every component had to be perfect because there were no replacement parts available. If something broke, he would have to start over from the beginning. The prototype was ugly compared to the beautiful builder technology. Where the alien ship had smooth curves and flowing lines, Marcus's device looked like a metal box covered with wires and cooling tubes. But when he activated it for the first time, something wonderful happened. A small wrench on his workbench suddenly moved 3 inches to the left without anyone touching it. The space around the wrench had shifted, carrying the tool along with it. Marcus had successfully bent reality using human technology and alien knowledge. The success was thrilling, but it also revealed new problems. The quantum displacement field was incredibly unstable when generated by human equipment. The builder crystals had maintained perfect harmony automatically, but Marcus's fusion-powered system required constant manual adjustment to prevent dangerous feedback loops. Marcus realized he needed a better control system, something that could respond faster than human reflexes. The answer came from an unexpected source. While studying the builder ship's control crystals, he discovered that they responded to brain patterns rather than mechanical input. The aliens had controlled their technology with pure thought. Creating a human brain interface was the hardest challenge Marcus had ever faced. He had to map the electrical patterns of his own thoughts and find a way to translate them into the harmonic frequencies the displacement field required. The work was dangerous because any mistake could damage his brain permanently. Marcus built the interface using neural sensors salvaged from medical equipment and quantum processors from the builder ship. The connection allowed him to feel the displacement field as if it were part of his own body. When the field was stable, he felt calm and peaceful. When it became unstable, he felt pain that warned him to make corrections. Testing the brain interface was terrifying. Marcus had to trust alien technology with his most precious possession, his mind. But when the connection activated, he felt something incredible. The displacement field responded to his intentions like a natural extension of his will. He could shape space-time as easily as moving his arm. The larger prototype took 2 months to build. Marcus had to create entirely new manufacturing techniques, forging alloys that combined human metals with builder crystal fragments. Every joint had to be welded by hand. Every circuit had to be tested dozens of times. The work was exhausting, but Marcus felt more alive than he had since his exile began. The completed thruster system filled half of his workshop. Crystalline conduits carried energy through geometric patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human eye could see. When Marcus activated the system, the air itself began to shimmer with barely contained power. The first full test was both success and disaster. Marcus successfully moved his entire workshop 3 feet to the left, proving that the quantum displacement drive could affect large objects. But the energy release also burned out half his electrical systems and created interference patterns that would be visible to sensors across the star system. Marcus spent the next week repairing the damage and improving the thruster's efficiency. He learned to focus the displacement field more precisely, reducing the energy waste that had caused the electrical problems. He also built better shielding to contain the quantum signatures that made the system detectable. The final version was a masterpiece of human determination and alien wisdom. The thruster could move objects through space without touching them, bend the laws of physics to achieve impossible accelerations, and even phase matter through solid barriers for brief moments. It was technology that would revolutionize space, travel, and make humanity the most mobile species in the galaxy. But Marcus also understood the deeper implications of what he had built. The builder knowledge in his head came with memories of how their technology had been used. The quantum displacement drive was not just a propulsion system. It was a key that could unlock secrets of the universe that most species were not ready to handle. Marcus made his final preparations carefully. He uploaded all his research data to quantum storage crystals that could survive almost any disaster. He programmed his communication system to send the information to his sister Rebecca if he did not check in regularly. Most importantly, he made peace with the possibility that his creation might be his last act as a free man. The thruster system hummed quietly in the center of his workshop, waiting for its first real test. Marcus knew that once he used it, there would be no going back. The quantum signature would announce his location to every spacefaring species in the galaxy. But sometimes a man had to take risks to prove that impossible things could become possible. Marcus placed his hand on the neural interface and felt the displacement field respond to his touch. Whatever came next, he was ready. Marcus was making final adjustments to the quantum displacement thruster when his early warning system screamed an alert that made his blood run cold. A ship had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the star system. The signature was unmistakable. It belonged to the Iron Maiden, the most feared bounty-hunting vessel in human space. Captain Jake Sullivan had found him. Marcus had heard stories about Sullivan during his time in the Earth Fleet. The man was a legend among bounty hunters, famous for tracking fugitives across impossible distances and bringing them back dead or alive. Sullivan preferred alive because it paid better, but he was not known for being gentle with his prisoners. The Iron Maiden was built for one purpose. It could outrun most military ships, outfight most pirates, and outlast anyone foolish enough to try hiding from it. Sullivan's crew was just as dangerous as their ship. They had been hunting fugitives together for 5 years, and they had never failed to collect a bounty. Marcus watched the tactical display as the Iron Maiden moved through the outer system, scanning planets and moons with military-grade sensors. They were being methodical, checking every hiding place where a fugitive might set up a base. At their current rate, they would reach his moon in less than 12 hours. Marcus had 3 choices, and none of them were good. He could surrender and face execution back on Earth. He could try to run using his old transport ship, which would probably break down before reaching the next star system. Or he could test his untested quantum thruster in a desperate escape attempt that might kill him instantly. The communication system beeped with an incoming message. Marcus hesitated before answering, knowing it could only be bad news. Jake Sullivan's voice filled the workshop, calm and professional as always. Marcus Thompson, this is Captain Sullivan of the Iron Maiden. I know you can hear this message, so let me make things simple for you. The bounty on your head is now 75,000 credits. That is enough money to make this personal for me and my crew. Sullivan paused, and Marcus could hear other voices in the background. The bounty hunter was not alone on his bridge. I want you to know that I respect what you did on the Prometheus. Questioning orders takes courage, even when it ruins your life. But courage does not pay my bills or keep my crew happy. You have 12 hours to surrender peacefully. After that, we start shooting first and asking questions later. The message ended, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and his impossible choice. He looked around his workshop at 3 years of careful work. Everything he had built, everything he had learned, everything he had discovered would be lost if Sullivan captured him. But using the quantum thruster would announce his location to every alien species in the galaxy. Marcus made his decision. He began preparing the workshop for emergency evacuation, rigging explosive charges that would destroy his equipment if anyone tried to examine it. He uploaded all his research data to quantum storage units and programmed them to broadcast toward Earth if he did not check in within 72 hours. The quantum thruster hummed with barely contained energy as Marcus activated its warming cycle. The crystalline conduits began glowing brighter, and the air around the device shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The displacement field was building toward full power. Marcus strapped himself into the pilot seat of his modified transport ship and connected the neural interface to his brain. The sensation was still strange after weeks of practice. He could feel the quantum field like an extension of his own body, ready to bend space around his ship at the speed of thought. The Iron Maiden was getting closer. Marcus could see it on his long-range sensors, a sleek predator moving through space with deadly purpose. Sullivan was probably studying sensor readings of the moon, looking for heat signatures and energy sources that might reveal a hidden base. Marcus waited until the bounty hunters were close enough to detect his thruster activation. He wanted them to see what human engineering could accomplish when pushed to its limits. He wanted them to know that some prizes were too dangerous to claim. The quantum displacement drive activated with a sound like reality tearing apart. Space around Marcus's ship began to ripple and fold, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The thruster was working perfectly, but its activation sent energy shockwaves racing across the star system at faster-than-light speeds. Marcus felt the ship lift off from the moon's surface without any sensation of acceleration. The quantum field was moving space itself, carrying his vessel along like a leaf on an invisible river. Below him, the moon shrank to a point of light as distance became meaningless. But the thruster's activation had consequences Marcus had not fully anticipated. The quantum signature was like a beacon announcing his presence to every spacefaring civilization within 50 light years. Sensors across the galaxy registered the energy burst and began calculating its source. Sullivan's voice crackled over the radio, filled with amazement and fear. What in the name of Earth are you flying, Thompson? That energy signature is off the charts. No human ship should be able to generate that kind of power. Marcus smiled as he felt the Iron Maiden struggling to follow his impossible maneuvers. The quantum thruster allowed him to accelerate without inertia, change direction instantly, and even briefly phase through solid matter. Sullivan's advanced ship looked primitive compared to builder technology, but Marcus's triumph was short-lived. New contacts were appearing on his sensors as alien ships responded to the quantum signature. The hegemony battle fleet was moving toward his position from 3 star systems away. Other species he did not recognize were also converging on his location. Marcus realized he had started something that could not be stopped. Every major power in the galaxy was now interested in his quantum thruster. The chase was about to become much more complicated. Marcus raced through the asteroid field surrounding the gas giant, his quantum thruster bending space in ways that made pursuit almost impossible. Behind him, Jake Sullivan's Iron Maiden struggled to match his impossible maneuvers while alien ships converged on their position from across the galaxy. The chase had been going on for 6 hours, and Marcus was beginning to understand the full scope of what his thruster activation had unleashed. The quantum signature had reached every major civilization in this part of the galaxy. Everyone wanted to know what human technology could generate such incredible energy patterns. Sullivan's crew was getting frustrated. Marcus could hear them arguing over the radio as they tried to target a ship that could phase through solid asteroids and change direction without slowing down. Amanda Cross, Sullivan's first officer, was suggesting they use nuclear missiles to destroy the entire asteroid field. Tommy Rodriguez wanted to ram Marcus's ship with their heavily armored hull. Negative. On both plans, Sullivan's voice cut through the chatter. That ship is worth more than our bounty if we can capture it intact. Whatever Thompson has built, it represents a quantum leap in human technology. The Earth government will pay millions for it. Marcus smiled grimly as he guided his ship through a cluster of spinning rocks. Sullivan was right about the technology's value, but wrong about who would ultimately control it. The builder knowledge in his head came with safeguards that would prevent the quantum thruster from being used for conquest or war. New contacts appeared on Marcus's sensors as the first alien ships arrived in the system. 3 hegemony destroyers dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the gas giant's largest moon. The hegemony was a loose alliance of species that controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes. They were not evil, but they were not friends of humanity either. Marcus intercepted their communications as they scanned his ship with sensors more advanced than anything humans possessed. The hegemony commanders were amazed by what they were seeing. One of them transmitted in broken human language, demanding that Marcus surrender his vessel for examination. Human ship with impossible drive, you will stop immediately and prepare for boarding. This technology violates several galactic treaties regarding space-time manipulation. Compliance is not optional. Marcus ignored the demand and continued weaving through the asteroid field. The hegemony ships were fast, but they could not match his quantum-assisted maneuvers. He could feel their weapons locking onto his position, only to lose target as he phased through another asteroid. More alien ships were arriving every few minutes. Marcus counted at least 12 different species, all drawn by the quantum signature. His thruster had broadcast across the galaxy. Some he recognized from Earth's diplomatic files. Others were completely unknown, their ship designs unlike anything in human records. The most disturbing arrivals were the Dominion cruisers that materialized near the system's edge. The Dominion was humanity's greatest enemy, a militaristic empire that believed all other species should serve them or die. If they captured the quantum thruster technology, it would tip the balance of power in their favor permanently. Sullivan's voice crackled over the radio again, now tinged with desperation. Thompson, you need to listen to me. This has gone way beyond a simple bounty hunt. Half the galaxy is heading our way, and most of them do not have peaceful intentions. Whatever that drive of yours can do, it is not worth starting a galactic war. Marcus was beginning to agree with Sullivan, but it was too late to stop what he had started. The quantum thruster's activation had been like lighting a signal fire that could be seen across the entire galaxy. Every species that had ever wondered about the limits of physics was now heading toward his location. The breakthrough came when Marcus noticed strange readings from the builder ship buried on his moon. The ancient vessel was responding to the quantum thruster's activation, awakening from its million-year sleep. Crystalline systems that had been dormant since before humans evolved were coming back to life. Marcus felt a presence touch his mind through the neural interface. It was not the cold touch of a machine, but something warm and alive. The builder Ship's artificial intelligence was trying to communicate with him, speaking in a language of pure mathematics and emotion. The AI showed Marcus images of the galaxy as it had been during the Builder era. Thousands of species working together on projects that spanned centuries. Art and science flowing freely between worlds that saw diversity as strength rather than weakness. The quantum displacement drives were just one part of a vast network that connected every civilization in peace and harmony. But the AI also showed Marcus what had gone wrong. Fear and aggression had replaced cooperation. Species that had once been friends became enemies. The Builder network fell apart as war spread across the galaxy, leaving each world isolated and suspicious of its neighbors. Marcus understood what the AI was trying to tell him. The quantum thruster was not just a propulsion system. It was a key that could unlock the Builder network and restore the galaxy to what it had once been, but only if it was used by someone who understood the true meaning of the Builder philosophy. The chase continued through the asteroid field as more alien ships arrived in the system. Marcus could feel the tension building as different species maneuvered for position, each one hoping to claim the quantum thruster for themselves. Space around the gas giant was becoming crowded with warships from a dozen different civilizations. Sullivan was still following him, but the Iron Maiden was no longer his biggest worry. The Dominion cruisers were closing in, their weapons charging for a killing blow. The hegemony destroyers were trying to herd him toward a capture net. Unknown alien vessels were scanning him with energy beams that made his skin crawl. Marcus made a desperate decision. Instead of continuing to run, he turned his ship toward the gas giant's inner atmosphere. The dense gases and crushing pressure would destroy any normal vessel, but his quantum thruster could phase through matter itself. If he could reach the planet's core, he might find temporary safety while he figured out his next move. The alien ships followed him into the gas giant's upper atmosphere, their hulls groaning under the increasing pressure. But Marcus kept diving deeper, using his quantum field to protect his ship from forces that would have crushed it instantly. At the planet's heart, surrounded by crushing darkness and impossible pressure, Marcus finally understood what he had to do. The Builder AI was still in his mind, showing him visions of what the galaxy could become if the ancient network was restored. It was time to stop running and start proving that humanity deserved to inherit the Builder legacy. Marcus emerged from the gas giant's crushing depths with a plan that would either save the galaxy or destroy everything he had worked for. The Builder AI had shown him the location of an ancient beacon station hidden in the planet's rings. One of thousands that had once connected every civilized world in peaceful communication. The alien fleets were waiting for him as he rose through the gas giant's atmosphere. Hegemony destroyers, Dominion cruisers, and ships from a dozen unknown species formed a rough circle around the planet. Behind them all, Jake Sullivan's Iron Maiden held position like a wolf watching larger predators fight over prey. Marcus could feel the tension building as the different fleets maneuvered for advantage. Weapons were charging, shields were rising, and diplomatic channels were buzzing with threats and demands. The quantum thruster had brought together the largest gathering of hostile forces the galaxy had seen in centuries. Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Colonial Authority arrived with a battle group of human warships just as Marcus cleared the gas giant's upper atmosphere. Her flagship, the UES Defiance, was twice the size of Sullivan's bounty hunter vessel and armed with enough firepower to level a small moon. Vasquez's transmission reached Marcus on a secure military channel. Marcus Thompson, by order of the day. Colonial Authority, you will surrender that alien technology immediately. We cannot allow it to fall into enemy hands, even if that means destroying you to prevent its capture. Marcus almost laughed at the irony. 3 years ago, the Earth military had exiled him for refusing to weaponize alien technology. Now they wanted to claim his discovery for themselves, probably to turn it into the most powerful weapon the galaxy had ever seen. The standoff was broken when Marcus activated his quantum thruster at full power and headed toward the ancient beacon station hidden in the planet's rings. The energy signature was so intense that every ship in the system registered it on their sensors. Space itself began to ripple around Marcus's vessel as he approached speeds that should have been impossible. The beacon station had been dormant for millions of years, disguised as a chunk of ice and rock floating among the planet's frozen debris. But as Marcus approached, the ancient structure began to awaken. Crystalline surfaces emerged from the ice as builder technology responded to the quantum thruster's call. Marcus connected his neural interface directly to the beacon's control systems, feeling his consciousness expand to encompass the entire galaxy. Through the builder network, he could sense every intelligent species, every world that had ever dreamed of reaching the stars. The network was broken, its connections severed by fear and war, but the foundation remained. The alien fleets moved to intercept him, but Marcus was no longer thinking like a fugitive trying to escape. He was thinking like a builder, someone who saw the galaxy as it could be rather than as it was. The quantum thruster responded to his peaceful intentions, creating a displacement field that made weapons useless. Dominion plasma cannons fired at his position and passed harmlessly through space that was no longer quite there. Hegemony tractor. Beams tried to lock onto his ship and found nothing solid to grip. Human nuclear missiles detonated against quantum fields that absorbed their energy and converted it into pure light. Marcus began broadcasting on every frequency the beacon station could reach. His message was not words, but pure information, flowing directly into the minds of every sapient being within 100 light years. He shared the builder knowledge freely, showing the galaxy what it had lost when fear replaced cooperation. The effect was immediate and profound. Weapons powered down as ship commanders struggled to process information that challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. The builders had not been conquered or destroyed. They had evolved beyond the need for physical existence, leaving their technology as a gift for younger species to discover. Sullivan was the first to understand what Marcus was trying to accomplish. The bounty hunter's voice came over the radio, filled with wonder rather than threat. "Thompson, what are you doing to us? I can see things, remember things that never happened. The galaxy used to be different, didn't it? It used to be better." Marcus felt tears on his cheeks as the beacon network began reactivating across the galaxy. Ancient stations that had been silent for millions of years started broadcasting again, sharing art and science and philosophy with any species willing to listen. The builder legacy was awakening, offering the galaxy a chance to remember what it had lost. But not everyone was ready to embrace the builder vision. The Dominion Fleet Commander, Admiral Marcus, recognized from Earth intelligence files as the ruthless General Kane, ordered his ships to destroy the beacon station before it could complete its activation. Kane's voice cut through the peaceful. Transmissions like a blade. "All Dominion vessels, target the beacon and fire everything you have. This pacifist nonsense ends now. We did not conquer half the galaxy to give it up because of some alien fairy tale." The Dominion cruisers opened fire with everything they had, pouring enough energy into the beacon station to vaporize a small planet. But Marcus was ready for them. The quantum thruster created a displacement field around the beacon, moving the ancient structure slightly out of phase with normal space-time. The Dominion weapons passed through the beacon like it was not there, while the station continued its work of reactivating the galaxy-wide network. Other species began to understand what was happening and made their own choices about the future they wanted to embrace. The hegemony destroyers powered down their weapons and moved to defensive positions around the beacon. Several unknown alien fleets did the same, choosing cooperation over conquest. Even some of the Dominion ships broke formation as their crews experienced the builder memories and decided they wanted no part of Kane's war. Captain Vasquez faced her own choice as the beacon's influence reached the human fleet. Marcus could feel her mind struggling with the implications of what she was seeing. The Earth military had spent decades preparing for war with alien species, but the Builder knowledge showed that peace was not only possible but inevitable. "Stand down all weapons," Vasquez finally ordered her fleet. "We came here to prevent alien technology from falling into the wrong hands. I think we may have been worried about the wrong aliens." The beacon station reached full activation as Marcus completed the neural link with its ancient systems. Across the galaxy, millions of dormant Builder stations came back to life, creating a network of peaceful communication that spanned every inhabited world. For the first time in eons, the galaxy was truly connected again. Marcus felt the Builder AI's presence one last time as the ancient consciousness prepared to move on to whatever came after physical existence. The AI's final message was simple, but profound. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the Builder legacy, not through conquest or domination, but through the courage to choose cooperation over conflict. Marcus returned to normal space to find the assembled fleets had transformed into something resembling a diplomatic gathering. Ships that had been ready to destroy each other moments before were now exchanging scientific data and cultural information through the reactivated Builder network. Jake Sullivan requested permission to come aboard Marcus's ship, not as a bounty hunter, but as someone who wanted to understand what the galaxy was becoming. "I think my hunting days are over, Thompson. This new galaxy is going to need explorers, not predators." Marcus smiled as he looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The exile who had once been cast out for refusing to weaponize alien technology had become the key to unlocking the galaxy's peaceful future. The quantum thruster hummed quietly in his ship's engine room, no longer a tool of escape, but a bridge to the stars and all the wonders they contained.